Hey, what's up, Facebook world and YouTube world? This is James Dean coming to you live from my quarantine headquarters here in Georgetown, Kentucky. I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening here on this beautiful Tuesday night. I know the weather outside is amazing. Thought it was going to rain, but good news is it did not. If this is your first time watching this, I am the owner of James Dean Rocks Music School here in Georgetown, Kentucky. And this was a cool little idea I came up to be able to teach concerts or be able to allow my students to have a concert. And then I had some friends who are musicians that said, hey, let's do like a podcast type thing. And we did. And one of them right off the bat had 10,000 views. And we're like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I started asking around some of my good friends and said, hey, would you like to do some shows with me? So that's what this is all about. It is going to be a quick 30-minute, just a little talk discussion with different artists. Tonight we have George Molton, which I'm extremely excited about, which I'll talk more about him in a second. And then tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, we go from extreme, someone has been around in the business for a while, to a new and up-and-comer, Grayson Jenkins. You'll want to check him out too. Grayson's an amazing songwriter here based out of Central Kentucky. So you want to catch on to that. Couple things so you know, if you get the opportunity, a little shameless plug for myself, because hey, I'm doing this for free, right? If you get a chance, go out there and subscribe to my YouTube. It's out there called James Dean Rocks Music School. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers. Guess how many I got? 54. So you could be number 55. I'd be excited if you know who you are. You're sitting right there right now with maybe a nice little toasty beverage, and I'd love for you to jump in and be that person. Also, if you don't mind, you can go on to Facebook and like James Dean Rocks Music School. I kept it simple. They're all James Dean Rocks Music Schools. So YouTube and Facebook, which you could be watching anywhere right now. Also, my good buddy Blake Jones is already on. Also, I was getting ready to say this next thing. You can go out and comment, and we can see your comments. So if you have a question you want me to throw out there, or you want to give hey, what's up, or hello, or hey, I'm watching. Hey, how about this? If you're watching right now, comment where you're watching from. Now, some of you guys, I might be on my couch. Well, that's cool. Put your couch, but I want to know what city and state, because this is global. You could be watching from California, or you could be watching from, I don't know, Japan maybe? Little time difference there. But comment below where you're watching this. The more that you do that, the more it helps me, and it helps the artists that are on, because Facebook and YouTube are all about comments and shares. That leads me to the next thing. Share this. Go out there, hit the little share button, send it. It's really cool. It's easy. However, the best way to do it is make some comments like, hey, guys, you should jump on and watch this. Or after you're done, hey, that George Molton guy was one sexy beast. You should watch this and share that too. So that is how simple this is. Now, I'm not going to hold you up because we want to make this succinct and brief. So we're going to keep this short, sweet, and simple. And I am going to talk about our next artist that is coming on for this Tuesday night. He's a good friend of mine. He's an amazing guy. He has, just a heart of gold, a smile that will melt your world. He's got a voice. My goodness, his tenor voice, he gives me cold chills. But you know what's even cooler about, just as cool as this guy, about his voice, is that his personality is just as amazing. He's one of these guys that you meet him, you will just completely fall in love with his music, his voice, and then him in general. He's one of the real guys out there. So without much ado, let me introduce you, my good friend, George Molton. What's up, George?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. We got some people on that are watching right now. You want to say hi?
Well, hello, everybody that's out there watching. Glad you joined us, and stick around. It's going to be a fun night.
It is going to be a great night. George is here based in Georgetown also, right?
Yep.
So we're both here right in the big city of Georgetown, the fastest growing city in the state of Kentucky. So if you're watching outside of Kentucky, a little bit of cool information, home of Toyota, right?
Yes,
we are in little Toyota right here. Everything's about that. So George, I'd asked you about coming on, and we just want to spend some time getting to know you, and to be able to have you sing some cool songs that you wrote. So there might be some people out there that have dreamed about being on the stage or dream about playing guitar or being a singer songwriter. So tell me a little bit how you got started. Did you just wake up with a guitar in your hand?
No, as a kid, I was just, there was just music everywhere. I grew up with 4 brothers, 3 older and 1 younger, and each one of those guys had their own unique taste in music. It ranged from anything from the Commodores to Black Sabbath and AC/DC to Neil Young, that kind of stuff. So, but my dad, he was, into the country stuff, and that's where I kind of got hooked on George Jones and Merle Haggard and those guys. And so I don't know. I think it was probably 7 or 8 when I first started kind of messing around, just singing those old country songs. And by the time I was, I think 11, I was actually sitting down and writing a lot. And I was actually a late starter. I was 15 before I ever started playing guitar. My Uncle Bill took me one time, and at that point I think they figured out I was getting kind of serious about the music thing, and he just informed me I couldn't be a country music singer if I didn't play guitar. So he took me to a local shop there in Olive Hill, where I'm from. A guy by the name of Darvin Sturgill owned that shop, and Darvin had like a top 14 hit back in, I think, the late 50s, a little song called Hello George, as a matter of fact, was the name of it. And so $100 for a guitar, $5 for Mel Bay's big chord book, and countless hours locked in my bedroom learning how to play it. So that's pretty much how it started.
What kind of guitar was it? Do you remember?
It was a Dixon. It was a black Dixon guitar.
My first guitar was a Dixon, a white electric Dixon.
Yeah.
And about 2 weeks later, it became a wall clock. My mom was so mad at me. So mad at me. So, George, so you're from Olive Hill, more northeastern Kentucky. Is that about fair to say?
That's fair to say, yeah.
And you started writing when you were 11. Do you remember any of the songs you wrote?
Oh, I still really played the probably one of the very, I wouldn't say it's the first song I ever wrote, but it's the first good song that I can remember writing. I actually recorded it later on in Nashville, a song called Matters of the Heart.
Oh, yeah.
Probably about 12 maybe when I wrote that song.
That's amazing. I know I've got a young lady on here right now who she's amazing. She is 10 or 11, about that age. She actually just commented on here. You can see her comment. She's from Stamping Ground, Kentucky. Yeah. We're trying to get her to get some songwriting going, but man, she's an amazing artist too. Her name's Kara Deadman. She's watching. So these are the reason why I do this. So these kids can hear, or adults even. It's never too late to start, right?
No, especially not in the songwriting business. Some people will tell you might have a shelf life as far as an artist or something like that because of your age or whatever. Or you're like me, you tend to get a little rounder as you get older. But the songwriting part of it, to me, it may not be the most, well, I guess it is instant gratification, because at least when you write it, you get the thing out of it, so it's different than being on stage, but it's never too late to get into that. And hey, just be upfront and honest about it. You're going to make more money writing songs than you are singing songs.
That is true. What is that? I heard someone posted the other day that all their gigs were canceled for the next 6 months. They checked their bank account and they've got more money than they ever had.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, George, let's go ahead and tell us a little bit about the first song you're going to do for us.
Okay. What's a song called After Loving You? I would imagine this song is probably well over 20 years old, and it's one of my favorites. I mean, if somebody asked me about my favorite song, this is one of my favorites. I've just always thought this was could have been a big song, fun story. It's kind of fun and not fun, but George Strait actually had this song on hold twice, but never cut it. And had he cut it at least once, then it'd been a whole different ball game. But no real history behind it. Just one of those sad, tear-jerking country songs. So,
what guitar are you playing today, George?
Today I'm playing
Oh,
a 1972 Gibson Hummingbird.
hate you. All right, George. I'm going to turn the screen over to you, and once I'm off there, you can get started, brother. Rock it out, man.
Thought about calling you, saying I loved you, but I just hung up the phone. Dave, I missed you, but I needed you. Can't stand to be alone. And I wanna hold you, but my pride said no. My heart keeps on telling me it's time to let go. But where do I go? Ooh, after loving you, you moved far away, settle down. You did for a time. I heard the other day you were back in town. You're still on my mind. I wanna hold you, but my pride said no. My heart keeps on telling me it's time to let go. But where do I go? Ooh, after loving you. Thought about calling you, saying I loved you. I just hung up the phone.
Ooh, doggy. Man, dude, I've missed your voice.
Oh, thanks, man.
We got to get this Rona stuff over so we can get you out playing some more again.
I hear you.
Oh. So tell us a little bit. So after about 15, you got kind of serious. When did you have your first band?
Oh, well, it's probably around that time. If you want to call it that, we were all just learning. So, we were on pretty equal footing as far as who could play better or whatever. The first, I guess, man, my first real band that, after we'd all got seasoned up a little bit, not much. Me and some guys there at home, Ronnie and David Ingalls, Don Colley, Rick Stevens, we put a band together called the Hard Luck Band. And we went on for several years, man. We started playing a local VFW there in between Grayson and Olive Hill. And we were there for probably 2 years. That's how we paid for our PA gear. We bought it on the payment plan, and every bit of money we made at the VFW every Saturday night went to pay payments on it. And then we got fortunate enough. We started playing in a club in Huntington, West Virginia called the Ragtime Lounge. And this would probably been 96. somewhere in that area. And not too long before that, Billy Ray Cyrus had just left. He'd been the headliner of the club, and he just left out of there. And as you, from the interstate, when you started to get off the exit there, you could see the big sign up on top said the house that Billy built. So that was educational. I went from every Saturday night at the VFW to playing every Tuesday through Sunday for 5 hours a night from like 10 till 3 in the morning, 6 days a week.
Making $10 more,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. It wasn't back then. I thought it was big time, when they told me how much it paid, and as you get older, I don't know if it'd be hard to get me to do a couple of nights for that now. But,
no, we don't recover as easy getting up the next morning, right?
Oh no, absolutely not. But yeah, that's pretty much where we went to, and then that just progressed into some different shows. We came back and got back around Moorhead and started doing some stuff there. And then that kind of, we all went our separate ways. I started doing kind of the acoustic deal for a while, and then eventually got hooked up with the guys that ended up being the band that we came to Lexington with.
We'll talk about that after this next song. 90 Proof Pain.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this one.
Let me get this in the right register here. I think most of your great songs, this was a lesson my dad taught me. They're truth. They're real, and either you've experienced them, you've lived them, or at least you've been close enough to someone who has that you can speak from authority, I guess they say. I went through a stage from, I don't even know when it started really. I know when it ended. It ended about 2001, but I went through a stage where probably the best friend I thought I had was a bottle, and it really got me in a tough spot. Darn near killed me at one point. Actually, I was up with acute pancreatitis, and I was in the hospital for like 13 days, and they were like, it's 50-50 if you come out here or not. And so that kind of woke me up to that, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, but I'm a whole lot better than I used to be. But I wrote this song while I was in that stage, and it's kind of what it's about. It's about trying to kill a 90 proof pain, and ain't an easy thing to do.
Not at all. Well, brother, I'm going to turn the screen over to you, and looking forward to hearing this one.
Well, tonight, a cool one just won't do. It's gonna take something stronger to get me over losing you. You can't expect a house that's made of glass to stand a hurricane, or a six-pack to kill a 90 proof pain. 90 proof pain, one shot at a time, chasing it back with the memories flooding my mind, like a drowning man begging for more rain. I'll never find the cure, no more trying to kill 90 proof pain. In the beginning, it was easy to get by. A couple of beers just to help me sleep at night. Hurting just got longer, the hurting just got stronger. Now it takes a little more bag with the memories flooding my mind, like a drowning man begging for more rain. I'll never quench the thirst, I'll be dead first, trying to kill 90 proof pain. 90 proof pain, one shot at a time, chasing it back where the memories flooding my mind, like a drowning man begging for more rain. I'll never quench the thirst, I'll be dead first, trying to kill 90 proof pain. I'll never quench the thirst, I'll be dead first, trying to kill 90 proof pain.
Good job, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think that I've had a few other artists on here, like my good friend Blake Jones, and one of the things that's a common theme is us musicians are very emotional people. And we find those vices that help to sometimes take care of the good ones and the bad ones, right?
That's exactly right.
It's part of us finding our way to keep those kind of demons out, right?
Yep, it happened.
So you left Olive Hill and Moorhead and came to Lexington. You just showed up one day.
I just showed up. Yeah.
And all the doors open and said, "There's the great George Molton. Just come on in." Is that how it happened?
Not exactly. No. We came up and we looked around some places. I think the first place we ended up settling in and playing was it used to be the old Congress Inn, and man, I'm just gonna tell you, it was rough. It was just a rough spot to be in, but it got our foot in the door, and everything was rolling along, and we got to sit in and play a few nights here and there at Austin City. And then at one point, the guy that owned Austin City at the time, Larry Ross, he just showed up at one of the shows we was doing and offered us the gig. And of course, being where it was and the history and all, jumped on it. But at that same time, I was doing some, some writing stuff and trying to get some songs and stuff going, and had some people working with me and helping me out get some stuff into Nashville. So soon after I started, or it may have been right before, I got my first cut. John Michael Montgomery, of course, Austin City alumni there. He cut one song of mine called Weekend Superstar, and that kind of got the ball rolling, and then followed that up a couple of months after that, and Eddie and Troy cut another one of my songs. So within 2 or 3 months, I had 2 songs on 2 platinum selling records. So it was starting to look pretty good.
That's when I would have been like, woohoo!
Yeah, I was like that too. And it's, sometimes you have to rein it in and have a little self-control, but I was all woo.
So was this about the time that the rumors and the stories I heard about this amazing offer that came about? You need to tell everybody about this story. I think it's great.
Within a few years, once things started going with the songwriting, and then I started actually signed a deal with a publishing company in Nashville, and then we started kind of, actively trying to shop me around at different labels to get a record deal. And we went for, I don't know how many times I thought there was some kind of curse, because my management, they would have people come up to Lexington or or this guy was going to come up to Lexington, and then he fell down a flight of steps the day before. Or there was another time actually. I had a handshake deal and thought everything was going to go. It looked like we were going to end up at Curb Records, and then within 2 weeks after that happening, they shut their doors. So I had all kinds of good luck, but this one in particular, it started out. It was an independent label, and the guy I'm going to tell you about that ended up getting a spot ended up at I think it's Broken Bows where he ended up at. But a guy, man, I hate it when I can't think of I'll think Mike Burchetta. So everybody, I mean, most music people know Scott Burchetta, at the Taylor Swift fame, great.
Right.
Well, that's Scott's dad. And so we'd been going back and forth, and he and his wife came up to Lexington one night. And actually, I think it was Austin City's 30th anniversary or something like that. So John Michael was there as well, and we had a big shindig. So anyway, we made a verbal agreement that night. And, within a couple of weeks, I had a contract in my hand. And, had no idea what to expect. So, this is my advice. If you get that far, make sure you got a good guy to look at, a good attorney that can look over this stuff. So I did. And there were some changes here and there, and they were pretty cool with most of them. What stuck us was, though, this is where the songwriting thing comes into play. And in exchange for my record deal, they were asking for 50% of my publishing rights. So
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And you got to keep in mind, I only had 50% of my publishing rights to begin with because I just signed with a publishing company who took half of my rights too. So I was kind of stonewalled right there. I couldn't, I couldn't justify that. And so, I just made a stand on it. I said, this has got to change. I can't do it. I just thought, no deal's better than a bad deal. And I remember getting a phone call. I was at my manager's house at the time. And they informed me that, time was up. Either I agreed to this deal or they were flying out to Vegas to meet this guy. And he's already, it's in the bag. So I just couldn't do it. I said, I can't let that much of my rights to my songs go. And so the guy hung up the phone, and within a few months, there was a guy by the name of Jason Aldean took my spot. So,
and he's not done very good at all, has he?
No, not at all. That's one of my bass players, Ian Goff. He told me one time he said, you're actually the godfather of bro country. And I'm like, how do you get that? With the stuff that I do. He said, if you'd have took that deal, then Jason Aldean wouldn't have come around and this stuff wouldn't have started up. But you know what? I don't think there's been a day that I've ever really regretted making that decision. I just didn't like the deal. And, some people can say or think, well, take it right now and you can do what you want to later. But I just never was that kind of guy. I mean, if it's just bad, it's bad. And like you say, that's a lot of money I'm forfeiting for something that they had nothing to do with.
Right.
So it was almost like I felt like they were just, well, we'll trade you a record deal if you give us your publishing deal, basically. And I knew there was more money on that side than there was this side. So, I don't regret it. I'm glad that everything turned out. And Mike Burchetta and I are still on good terms and speak. I heard from him maybe a couple of years ago. And so it is what it is.
Well, I wish you had have got as big as Jason Aldean, but you wouldn't be here with me today. So
that's right. There you go.
All right, brother. We've got a couple more. Well, wait a minute. We got one more song, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. You and I both, we talked about being emotional. Emotional musicians, our highs are way up here and our lows are way down here. And both of us has had something the last couple of years. Mine's been about 2 years. Has been about a year now. Is that a year and a half?
Be a year in May. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost
Makes
my mom. It'll be 2 years in October for me. And you just lost your dad. And this song, when I first heard you do this, man, and everybody I've talked to that knows this song, that's what they think of that person.
Yeah.
And tell us how amazing and instrumental your father was.
Well, I mean, he was, he was a big deal from day one, just from the get go, just the influence of the kind of music that he listened to. And, I always give him credit for, introducing me to George Jones and Merle Haggard and people like that. But, also Hank Williams, Johnny Horton was a big, a big thing there. I bet every time I can find a Johnny Horton 16 Greatest Hits CD somewhere, I still snatch it up. The Everly Brothers, just different stuff. I mean, from the get go, he was just an influence. And then just always, my whole family has, but he was just always very supportive. When I was hitting the VFW halls and stuff, and he was there. I mean, every show that he could get to, and in the early days, there was nothing he wouldn't go to. And, when things started to take off and, I was trying to hold down the job and trying to do this and that. And he just he said, quit your job, go back home, no rent, no bills, concentrate on your music and go get it done. And, so just that, man, and just the constant, constantly on my side, constantly there to support me. I mean, I don't know how many nights he drove to Huntington, how many nights he drove to Lexington, and in the last few years when I finally came back around, started playing some places down in Moorhead, I mean, he was there every night. And, it just means the world to you, as you know, when you have that kind of support from somebody that you love, respect that much, and you see that they're really behind you. It's not just a, good luck, hope you make it. They're really there, and it just means the world to you. And it was tough. It was tough losing him. While we're on this subject, just so people out there know, I just want to send a big shout out and tell you a quick story about how great my band is that I have right now. We had put this band together, and we hadn't played our first show yet. Our first show was coming up on a Saturday, and it was at Austin City here in Lexington. And we found out my dad passed away, I think, on that Wednesday. So, of course, everybody was just, well, we're going to have to cancel that show. And knowing my dad, and I talked it over with my stepmom and my family and stuff, and everybody agreed and supported me in that, is that, he would want the show to go on. He's not going to let me cancel a show, especially 3 days out. So I said, we'll do it. And those guys, they spent Thursday and Friday night, up until 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, rehearsing our show without me, because I was home with my family, just so that when we did do our show Saturday night, that, it was going to be right. And, I've just, I just got to say how much I appreciate that, how much I love them guys. I mean, that's something they didn't have to do, and I wouldn't have thought any less of them if they did. And I just think it was a great gesture and shows what kind of great human beings they are on top of musicians.
I know every one of them, and they are amazing guys. Some of the best musicians that you've played with, in my opinion. You don't have to agree, but
they're absolutely fantastic.
But in my opinion, some of the best. Well, George, let's go ahead and do this song. This one's for your dad. This one's for my mom. And if you're out there and you've lost someone close, you need to listen. If you're not in tears after this one, because I know I will be, I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to turn it over to George. Bring it home, brother.
Thanks, sir. You found your way Then you flew away from me. The wind whispers your name, and through the skies of my memory, fly on, sweet angel, fly on, oh, and I will set you free. Fly on, sweet angel, oh, and then you may fly back to me. Fly on. It wasn't me that held you down, just the voices in your soul. So now that you are freedom bound, had no choice but to let you go and fly on, sweet angel, and fly on, oh, now set you free, and fly on. Fly on, sweet angel, oh, and then you may fly back to me. Fly on, fly on.
I miss my mom. I miss her. I know you miss your dad, dude.
Yes, sir.
But our faith, one day we'll be there with them, right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's the thing that keeps you going. You know, I was just so tickled, and nothing made me happier than, you know, about 2.5, 3 years ago, my dad at 74, 73 years old got saved. I got to go down and jump in the tub, and yeah, he was a big guy. So there's he was a small guy. Yeah, my dad was like 6'4" and, you know, 250 pounds. So it was the baptism wasn't really big enough to get him there. So we got him down, the top of his head stuck out, and I just shoved him on down the water. And he's like, "You tried to drown me." I said, "No, just make sure we got the job."
Got rid of all of it, right? That's
right.
amazing. Right. Well, brother, this has been really cool. I do want to share some comments. There was a young lady, Mary Beth Drake. She's a good friend of mine. She says, "My hero veteran husband plays this song in remembrance of those he lost overseas." So it looks like, how cool is that?
That's the coolest right there. It didn't get no cooler than that.
And the fact that people cover your songs, how cool is that's really cool too.
It is.
Paul Mockabee.
Yeah,
Paul Mockabee gave you a heart on there. Let's see. You've got Rita Floyd. George Molton, one of the best Kentucky has. I agree 100%.
Thank you, Rita.
You had a lot of people commenting on there. That's just a few. George, I appreciate you doing this. I've had a great time. I hope you've had a great time.
Absolutely, man. I've had a blast.
I'd love to have you on again sometime here soon. And I'm sure, without a doubt, all the people out here would love to hear you again sometime soon, too.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, George, hang out there, and I'll talk to you here in 1 second. Everyone, George, anything you want to say to everybody before I put you back in the –
Hey, I just want to say to everyone, y'all know, thank y'all for listening all these years. Stay in there, stay safe, stay healthy, and take care of yourself. And this stuff, as they say, this too shall pass, so we'll be good in a little while.
Amen. Amen. Just hang tight. I'll be right back with you. All right, everyone. If you loved seeing George, give some comments down there, some words of encouragement for him. He's been in this game a long time, and he's, in my opinion, better than he has ever been. So if you get a chance and you are out and about and you hear that he's there, support. We talk about supporting local businesses, but you need to support local artists. You see him out and about, you go out there and support, because I tell you, without your support, us as musicians, it really – it's the best thing you can do is show up to the gigs, right? So I'm thankful for all you guys who joined. Don't forget that if you're watching this, we had some people watch from YouTube. You can go out there to YouTube and subscribe. If you didn't watch it on YouTube, go out there anyway. I'd love to be able to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'd love to do that. With all that said, you guys have been great. This has been fun. Tomorrow night, catch us at 9 o'clock. You get to hear Grayson Jenkins on here. He's a young guy who's just starting back, like how George started his career. This young man is the opposite extreme. You don't want to miss this. You need to tell people. Go out there and look at the event on James Dean Rocks Music School and share it. With all that said, peace out. Rock on.